Are you a fan of Cthulhu and H.P. Lovecraft? Well, stick around because we're going to be talking with Tomas Härenstam from Free League Publishing about their latest project, the Call of Cthulhu art book. I'm so excited to have Tomas back on. As you know, he is one of my favorite folks, and Free League is one of my favorite publishers in this industry. If you are excited about this project, please hit the like down below. And if you haven't checked out the Kickstarter, I put the Kickstarter link in the description of this video, so please check it out. But first, why don't you tune in and join me for my conversation with Tomas. Tomas, thanks again for coming on and chatting with me for a few moments today.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Well, I've got to say that I'm really, really excited about this project that you have on Kickstarter. I mean, with most Free League, I think with every single Free League project at this point, I'm always excited about it. I am not typically a Cthulhu and Lovecraft like fanboy, but you tease this on your social media, on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And if folks aren't following you on those platforms, they need to be following you because you guys just spoil some great stuff on there. I saw the preview images of this project, and I was like, oh man, this is amazing. You've got this really awesome art book from Francois Baranger, I think.
Yeah,
I think I pronounced his last name. I don't speak French, but Baranger. Francois, if you're watching this, I apologize if I totally. You can let me know in the comments if I totally massacred your name. But he is an amazing artist. Like, this is
really
crazy.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. He's a really, really fantastic art, and that's sort of what got us going as well. I mean, we know the story, the original story is good, but I mean, we all know that. But this art is really what that's what we bring to the table.
Oh my word!
With this project, yeah,
it just takes your breath away. Now, if folks might not be familiar with Francois's work, he's worked on quite a few really big properties in the movie industry I know of, and then some other things. Can you tell us a little bit about what he's worked on in the past?
Yeah, I mean, he's a very experienced, well-established illustrator based in France. He's French. He's worked on a lot of properties, different projects as a concept artist, and also doing. And this is, I mean, this book that we're doing with him now. It's already published in France in French. That was with another company, and then we found out about it, and then we approached him because it sort of showed up, and we figured this is something that would fit perfectly since we're doing Simon Stollenhauer's art books that are, a little bit, that kind of. Thought this would be a perfect, project for us, and then we ended up doing the Swedish version. So it was actually published in the fall. So I have one right here. It's a big book. It's like,
oh wow.
So it's this is the Swedish version. So, and then we talked to him about we wanted to do the English language version as well, and that we discussed it for quite some time, and finally we agreed on doing that. So that's why we're doing it now. We wanted to do it with a Kickstarter because that's a really good way to sort of get the word out. So we're kickstarting this printed English version of this art book.
And I'm going to tell folks that if you've never backed a Free League project on Kickstarter, they are one of my favorite folks on that platform just because they get how the platform works. They really do exceptional products, and they embrace their community online, and they keep folks informed. And I've said this before when you've been on, but you guys just understand the Kickstarter platform, and I love featuring you on, and hopefully we get more folks that are fans of you on Kickstarter as well, because you guys are just doing some tremendous work.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about the book itself. Tell us a little bit about the art book. How many pages is it? What is it in capsule? What, just kind of give us the 2-minute or so pitch on the book.
Yeah, I mean, it is the text is the original, the Call of Cthulhu short story by H.P. Lovecraft. And then this is of course brought to life. It's pretty big, but I'll see if I can sort of show a little bit in the field here. So basically, you have the intro, and then you get to the story, and there's like a number of chapters. So it's the art, of course, dominates the pages. So it's these big spreads follow the story, and it's about the total page count, I believe, is right under. It's about 60 something, so it's right under 70 pages. But these are big pages. So and it's of course with a thick paper that's really to bring out the best possible quality, bring out the art in the best possible way. And then there is like this actually is like a dust cover thing, so it's you can take that off, and then there's like a second hardback cover underneath with another piece of art on it. So yeah, I mean, it's really sort of nice, the kind of book you want to have on your coffee table or something, and just sort of flip through and look through and just get inspired by this amazing art, and of course that story as well.
Can you explain a little bit about Francois's art process? Because I think that's really interesting. Like, he has like it's multiple steps on how he creates each piece. Can you divulge a little bit more information on that?
I guess so. It's better that I'm not. He should probably explain that kind of stuff himself.
Sure. It's too bad we couldn't have him on.
You can actually. There's quite a lot of information on that on the Kickstarter itself, and there is even one of these time lapse videos where you could just kind of you can follow exactly how he works, and it's sort of sped up, so you can. It's a video that sort of you can see how he creates his art pieces. I can really recommend checking that out. Absolutely. And there he explains in his own words how he works. It's probably I would recommend that rather than me trying to sort of explain it. I'm not an artist. So I would not be comfortable getting into details of that. So check out the Kickstarter. There's lots of, you can find it there.
It's awesome. I love always watching folks, create art anyway, and that was just a great video. And yeah, like Thomas said, check out the video on the Kickstarter, because it's amazing. Now, this Kickstarter, when we were talking originally about having you on, we talked about, well, maybe we'll create a video and we'll have you on, and hopefully it'll get you past the last few stretch goals. But you've smashed through every single stretch goal that you've put out for this campaign. You've got all these upgrades on the book unlocked. You've got art prints unlocked. You unlocked an RPG, like a Cthulhu Free League RPG. Like, that had me really excited as well. Thomas, that's exciting stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about this RPG that you're going to be creating?
Sure. I mean, just about the stretch goals there. Yeah, I mean, they're all unlocked, the ones we had, and so we're actually now sort of thinking if we can do some more. I mean, it's always a balance. You don't want to sort of throw too much up there, because that could end up sort of delaying the whole process. We don't want to do that. So, and that's the reason we're actually bringing it to Kickstarter, is that we want to be able to sort of expand the project and the book with these art prints, for example, and also the RPG, and the Kickstarter is just a really good way for us to sort of see. We're a small publisher. So this is one way to sort of find our way and see how much, what kind of interest is out there. So that's what we're doing it on Kickstarter for this book. And of course, another reason is that we had this idea to do a role-playing game. I mean, obviously that's our core thing to do, is RPGs. That's where our heart truly lies. So doing an RPG sort of with this great art and just follow that kind of feel is something that we discussed. And of course, we're all Cthulhu fans, so doing an RPG when we're doing this art book, it's just like, it's hard not. So it's very tempting.
Sure.
So yeah, we've been discussing it for a while. I mean, we needed to sort of see the interest before we actually decided on it. But now, since the stretch goal is unlocked, we'll definitely be doing it. So everyone who backs the art book will get the RPG in digital format. Then we'll see about, probably might be a separate campaign for the printed RPG, because that's going to be, the art book will become finished now, like in the summer, but the RPG is going to take a bit longer to complete. So that's why that's probably going to be for next year. So yeah, we have lots of ideas for the RPG, and it's, of course, our Cthulhu RPG. It's not the first one, obviously.
No.
So that's something to consider that we're discussing a lot. How to make a Cthulhu RPG that sort of feels that it brings something new and something fresh, and it's just not sort of doing what everyone else has already been doing for quite a long time. So that's one challenge. And what we want to do with this game, I think, to set it apart a little bit, apart from the amazing art, is that we want to go closer to the original stories. I mean, you can do Cthulhu in a couple of different ways, and I think a common way is to go sort of in the more pulpy direction. It's more like Indiana Jones, but with like Cthulhu added, something like. I mean, some games do that, even board games, card games, and even role-playing games, and that's cool. I think that's certainly a valid approach to sort of how to turn Cthulhu into an RPG, but we wanted to go a different way with this game. We want to go more into sort of where closer to the stories, where sort of it's more about, you know, this descent into madness and stuff like that, where so you can truly go mad and die in this game. Awesome. And the way then the trick is that, since if you really want to play that way, it's hard to play longer campaigns with the same characters, because then you have to sort of be a bit more careful. You can't really play hard in that sense. So what we're thinking mainly to do in this game is to focus on more like one-shot scenarios with pre-generated characters. Not only that, but the sort of one focus of the game would be to play. That would be great for like conventions, and also just want to play like one session or a couple of sessions and then you have a very well-rounded set of characters that have been thought out, and they have their own personal relationships, and you can sort of that the characters are part of the scenario. It's not the case where you sort of make characters over here and then there is like an adventure over there and you sort of just go solve it. This would be much more sort of the characters would be really integrated into the story and the plot. So that's sort of what we're leaning at right now, to sort of go into this direction where you sort of have these set pre-generated scenarios with characters, and you can sort of really truly go into that in the sort of Lovecraftian way, and you can play, just follow the story wherever it leads, and you don't have to think I have to save my character for the next scenario, because this is sort of, you can really go all in. That's sort of where we're leading with this RPG. We think that's a sort of can be a nice way to make it a bit different from other Cthulhu games that are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, am I to assume that this is going to use the Year Zero engine system that you guys use with I think it's with all of your RPGs at this point? Well, except for Simbarum, which you just brought on board with Yaringen. So it is going to use the Year Zero.
Yes, most likely. I mean, that's at least that where we're sort of going a version of it. I mean, with all the RPGs, we change quite a lot of it, so it's not not exactly the same. So yeah, but it's going to be a version of that engine. Then we'll tweak it to sort of fit this game particularly, but we'll see exactly where we end up.
Everybody was asking about the one shot and whether or not you could actually string them together. But one person had this really great idea. I think it was Jason, that's one of our contributors. He's like, it would be really cool if you could make one shot lead into another one shot and just kind of make it. And that was just one question I thought was really interesting. And I was like, actually, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, it's fun that you mention it, because we had discussions in this direction. Actually, very, pretty much exactly that even though they are one shot with a set characters that will that are limited to this scenario, what we can do to build larger campaigns is to string them together, and that what happened in one scenario will affect what's happening in the next, even though you might even be playing different characters.
Right.
But what the first characters did in one scenario will affect the setup for a completely different characters in another scenario, and you can sort of build a longer narrative like that will feel like a campaign. It will be a campaign, but it will probably use different characters. Sure. And what they do in the beginning will affect what's happening for the other characters in another scenario later on. And that way you're still playing a campaign. It might just not be with the same characters in every scenario. So I think, if that was what he was suggesting, then yeah, exactly. It's things like this that you can do some really cool stuff with. It's not the conventional way of doing things where you sort of play a campaign with the same characters, but I think for this game, you could be exactly right.
You've blown through all of the stretch goals. Can you tease anything that you have for thoughts for stretch goals? I'm assuming that you've got some in the works and that you're batting around. Can you give us a little bit of a tease as to what might be announced here coming up in the next day or so?
Yeah, you know what? I really wish I could, but
No!
we're still sort of, discussing it, and
All right.
we're not really sure what we'll actually be able to do. So it'd probably be a bad idea if I tease something that will actually not appear. That would just be bad. So
That's
sorry,
fine.
I'm just gonna have to keep you in suspense on that one.
Well, I'll get you on. Let's talk about the state of other Free League projects that are in the works. You've got Things from the Flood, which we just received our final PDFs for that book.
Yeah, almost final. We've actually discovered a bit of an embarrassing mistake, so we're gonna have to read. There was a small piece of text that was duplicated, so we're fixing that, and we're gonna send out the new batch. But it was a minor thing, and it's not gonna be in the printed book, so that's fine. But yeah, you're right. It's pretty much done. It's being printed. It's there. It's at the printers now. We're just and as soon as that's gonna take a couple of weeks. And then it's all about getting into the warehouse and then shipping it to backers. So that's happening in the next. Yeah, I mean, to be realistic, it takes a month to print and then another month to ship. So we're pretty much looking at April for when backers will get it.
So you have Crusader Kings, the board game, which is about ready to release.
That's sort of in the same. That's a bit further along actually. That's being manufactured right now. That's completely done. So that's now it's all about the production, which is a bit more complex since it's a board game with lots of plastic figures and stuff. So it takes a bit longer to actually produce the game. And then it's the same situation there. It's going to be completed. That we're a bit behind on that one. It was originally supposed to be shipped to backers before the end of the year, but we pushed it along. So now it's going to be done in like April, and then it's going to take another month to get it out. So most likely May until backers actually have the game.
Sure. But you've been very upfront with any delays on that project, which was nice. Speaking of board games, do you have anything else in the works maybe for Free League, like that we may see later this year? Maybe this year?
We are working on another board game. It's early days, so it's definitely too soon to say anything about it.
Sure.
But yeah, we have another board game project in the works, and we'll probably be able to. I mean, definitely during this year, we'll be able to, share, reveal what it is. Even though we won't, it's not going to be finished this year. It's next year, most likely.
Is there anything else that we should be aware of that's coming up for Free League Publishing?
Yeah, lots of stuff actually. I mean, I guess speaking of projects that are already in the works that we already kickstarted, Mutant Elysium. I think I was on. That's also being that's the layout is pretty much done, and so that's also going to be printed and shipped in the spring. So backers will have that like before. I think April was the original date, and that still seems very likely. So that's that. We have another. I mean, since like you mentioned, we joined forces with Team Järringen, and we're working on that team. Primarily, Matthias he's like the Mr. Symbaroum guy. He's still that, and he's primarily him. We're all involved, but he's sort of the main writer, of course. Sure. Is working on the next campaign module for Symbaroum. So that's. I think we had a bit of a newsletter out on that not so long ago, so that's also happening. We're working on that. So Symbaroum is definitely still getting a lot of love, even though it's now in the family of a lot more games. So that's happening. And we have another game that we're working on that I can't really reveal that much about, but probably around April we should be able to reveal some cool news for another completely different game that I think you might be interested in. We'll see about that. Yeah,
I'm sure I will be. I'm sure we'll probably have to have you come back on and chat all about it. I'm going to tell folks that if you'd like to see Tomas come back on, hit the like button down below, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. We'd love to have you part of our community and have you hear about all these awesome things that Free League is putting out and publishing and creating for our hobby industry. Tomas, if folks would like to know more about Free League, where should they go? Where can they find you?
Well, we have a website, of course, freeleaguepublishing.com, just in a single word, freeleaguepublishing.com. You can go there. We have a Facebook page. It's still called Fria Ligan, as in the Swedish name, Frialigan. We tried to change it, but Facebook won't let us, so it's still the Swedish name. But you'll probably be able to find it. So those are two good places. And of course, Kickstarter, you can find us there. I mean, all the previous Kickstarters and also the one running right now for the Cthulhu art book.
And if folks aren't following Free League on Kickstarter, you definitely should hit that follow button on Kickstarter,
Yeah.
and then you get notified every single time that they put out a new project, which is always a highlight of my morning. I'm always waiting for that notification when I know something's about to pop up on there from them.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool feature that Kickstarter has on there. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us for today. I want to thank Tomas for coming on, giving part of his afternoon to chat and talk about the Call of Cthulhu art book. If you, like I said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. We'd love to have you part of our community. This has been Victory Condition Gaming, because winning shouldn't be the only victory condition when you get to the table. We'll see you next time.